That's a different view, isn't it? This monitor screen, I bought that from my old tower when I was panic stations when my editing program will not work on this new $1,600 laptop that I bought last winter for when it went away so I could edit video and edit on it. And for whatever reason that program just crashed and I can't get it to work on anything. And then I couldn't get, what else couldn't I get? The cord that goes from a new monitor screen to the tower that I had built, custom built 4 years ago for a pile of money so I could edit smoothly with all my video files, high definition, 4K stuff, whatever you want to call it. So now you're seeing the view that I'm seeing on my laptop. It's funny, when I look at scenes like yesterday, that's what we saw yesterday when I threw the drone up into the sky. And then when I experience what I experienced as much as I can, but then when you go to, say, turning on your computer and you're automatically faced with all this dog shit right here. And to look at it, it just makes me kind of want to vomit in a bit because there's nothing here that's even potentially even worthy of our brain. For real. It's all just man-made, phony dog shit, right? Mindless titles to lure you in and take your brain away from common sense. It's weird, and sometimes I wonder if all those years I've spent, what screwed me up, if it is being screwed up. Let's get back to something normal here. Hold on a minute. For me to experience being absolutely free, which goes back to when I used to guide basic full-time. Man, I'll tell you what, when you have absolute no responsibilities at all, you're on a horse in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, full-time, every single day, all day, doing what you decide you're going to do, going where you decide you're going to go. You're using your natural given senses 24/7. They're enhanced or on fire. You're eating healthy. You're physically moving your body in a serious way. I mean, by the time you get out of doing about 3 months in the mountains, when you get out and get blasted into the real world again, it's just such a weird experience integrating back into society in a way. You know what I mean? Like before that, your groceries came out of the sky, basically. They got dropped in the middle of nowhere out of a bush plane. You don't need money. All you need is food, boots on your feet, some rain gear, and somebody behind you looking to fulfill a dream, and off you go into the mountains. No other human beings, none of this bullshit that I showed you a second ago on the internet. And it's all real. It's all real and true. Zero bullshit. Zero make-believe. Zero misleading. Nothing man-made, no phony bullshit, no nothing, no phony messages, no wrong turns to turn down. Everything's just on fire. You're living naturally to the max. You're so healthy and stupid. Your mind, your body is so clear. And then it's tough to let that go in a way. It's just tough to not let it go. It's just tough to have that experience of living so healthy and so free and then being immersed in the bullshit, right? It's a tough thing. I don't even know what I'm saying. I guess I'm babbling. It can be very confusing. Almost sad in a way. You know, it's like, good God. And then you find yourself just compelled, I don't know why, you're just compelled to try to help people see the light, see what's real, the bullshit to ignore, hopefully to encourage people to focus on the real world, what I always call the real world, and get in tune with themselves and break free of all this shit. I don't even know what I'm saying. I know what I'm feeling. It's just hard to mesh it up from my brain, or mesh up my brain to my lips sometimes, right? You know, I'll catch myself glancing at that screen by accident. That screen with all these stupid headlines, and so much of it is, you know, how to get rich. Look at this billionaire. how to go from zero to a millionaire. Rich, 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 millionaire, millionaire, money, money, money. It's so wrong. It's such a wrong message. It's the wrong message. You will receive nothing in life if you pursue becoming rich. If you want to become a quote millionaire, you are going to be so let down in the end of this ride, I'll guarantee it. You'll be so let down when it comes time to pass. The messages that I see getting shared and drilled into the population via these screens, maybe even the classrooms, is so wrong. So wrong. I wish I could stand on the rooftops and scream it out to people to combat the bullshit. I'm just saying, it's frustrating to want to combat the bullshit train as it just steams into society and screws up so many souls. It's tough. It's frustrating. I guess I'm having a frustrating moment, as usual. But anyway, there you go. What's my message from all that babble? I don't know, just try to ignore the messages that mainstream tries to drill into you. Teach your children the truths about everything you can. Teach them the truth. Teach them what's really, truly valuable in this lifetime, and it's not chasing the dollar. It's not. You got to experience the real world, right? You have to experience the real world. Get your shoes off, get barefoot, stand on the ground, ground yourself out, get in the forest or a park by yourself. I don't give a shit where. And get in tune with being truly alive. Anyway, babbling like a doorknob. Oh, what should I get into today? I didn't get up. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning, but I think I'm catching up to myself. And I was so exhausted yesterday. I know that I don't stop, and I don't sleep enough, and I push myself too hard. Whatever, it is what it is. But I get that feeling of running out of time non-stop, and I probably need about 8 lifetimes to get done and master everything I want to do and everything I want to master in life. So I woke up at 6, I think, struggling to make myself not go out in the woods and make sure I stayed and get some sleep, which I needed badly. And I managed to sleep in. So today is a day to get a lot organized, get more chores done, and then this evening maybe I'll go for a drift down the river, and I'll videotape it and share it with everybody. Another chunk of the real world, right? And then tomorrow morning, I think I'm going to go have a look at those fish in that creek and videotape them. That's the plan. How's that for a weird, confusing babble to open up a video, right? Probably going to make the subscription numbers go way down. Oh well. Now, what should I do here? I think I should need to share, put something appealing on the screen, right? There we go. There's a good view for everybody to see while I'm sharing honest people's honest experiences. What do we got? Who do we got? I'm going to go into, well, maybe I should try to look into, where are we? Red, I'm getting caught up. Excuse me. Alright, here's a whole bunch that aren't red. Don't even know when these were taken down. Haven't a clue. Have I read them? I don't know. Here we go. Thank you for your platform and your attitude of looking for answers to difficult questions. Questions that shouldn't be so difficult to ask or be validated. I don't expect you to have read my stories because they aren't dramatic in any way. Whoa! Okay, let's quickly do a, let's address that sentence right there. We don't look for drama here. We don't look for anything here. We don't look for any entertainment in any way here. Nothing's graded here. This is just people's truth. True, absolute true experiences and knowledge are shared here. That's it. End of story. We don't pick and choose. I do want to share them as I believe you are correct and that this is a way to validate and unload all at one time. I'm a 73-year-old practicing RN and an Army veteran. I've done a lot of camping but very little hunting. My first unexplained experience was when I was in my early 20s. I enjoyed camping. and took some alone time in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California. I hiked up to a spot we called Skunk Cabbage Meadows. It's on the back trail to the peak of San Gorgonio. It's not, okay, that's Gorgonio. It's not far out from Angel's Camp. Anyway, I didn't take a tent, just my sleeping bag and a bit of food in my 50 cal ammo can, waterproof. I was fast asleep the first night when I was awakened by something messing up my hair. Kind of like the way that you mess with your son's hair in a playful way. I was instantly wide awake and looked around, but I didn't see anything or hear anything. I was a bit startled, but I never felt the dread that so many other folks have described. Yet it took me a while to go back to sleep. I still have no idea what could have done that. I thought maybe a deer or even a bear tried licking my head, but that did make sense. Maybe an owl? I didn't think that fits either. My second odd experience was up in the redwoods of Kings Canyon National Park. My wife and I were taking a few days up in the area and rented a tent cabin. Excuse me. It was in the early spring. Late one night around midnight, I wasn't falling asleep very well, so I decided to get a little exercise. I went for a jog down the highway. It was a bright moonlit night, so I didn't need a flashlight. I was enjoying my jog and had gone about a mile when suddenly I had the unmistakable feeling I was being followed and stalked. I thought that I was being a bit of a ninny and tried to keep going, but the feeling didn't go away. It was getting worse as I kept going on. I thought at the time where maybe a cougar was following me. There's nothing behind me on the road, and the feeling seemed to be coming from the embankment on my left. Finally, I made a turn and began jogging back, trying not to show fear or panic. But I sure kept an eye out to my right as I returned to the tent cabin. I don't remember saying anything to my wife about my experience. I don't remember hearing anything unusual. No tree knocking, growls, or screams. Yet the feeling of danger and being stalked was unmistakable. Thanks again for exposing that there are things that go bump in the night out in those woods. Carrying a weapon might make you feel better, but unless you've got a rapid fire cannon. Anyway, one of these things could probably put a bowling ball sized rock upside of your head without a warning. So I doubt a weapon would really do any good. These things seem to have much better woodcraft than we will ever have. And by the way, based on your hunting experiences, I think I can guarantee you the Lord has some task for you. Ask Him to show you before it's too late. He will reveal your calling if you sincerely ask. As many times as He's saved your bacon, maybe you owe it to Him to ask, just saying. David Tyndall. Yeah, I probably do, man. I think I might have asked a few times already, right? I think I may have asked a few times already. Then you're right. The majority of the beings that may be running around out there, yeah, they could eliminate our ass at any given moment, even in this room through that glass door, right? What am I going to do? What are you going to do? Not much. It's a very confusing thing. And what's doing the warning on the danger? Is it your true, natural, given skills that sense the danger? Or is it some being sending the danger alarm to you? Right? That's a big one. Believe it or not, that is a big mystery right there. Is it our original given skills alarming us? Or is it the skills of somebody else being imposed on us? What do you think? Maybe throw that down in the comment section below, right? What do you think it is? Oops. Excuse me. Thanks for sending that in. I appreciate it. Big time. And I'll ask again out loud. Maybe I'll ask again this evening when I'm on that boat in the river alone. What's going on? What's going on? Hello, Steve. Please don't use my name. People are insane and I have to support my family. Sucks, but that's reality. Maybe I'm a pussy, haha. Whatever, man, go with your gut. Your gut knows what to do, and if your gut says to keep your name safe, keep it safe. I grew up in Kansas. My family owns a farm in Jefferson County, Kansas. 350 acres with a lake and a pond. It's a world-class deer property. If you're interested in hunting in Kansas, let me know and you have a spot anytime. And it almost sounds familiar because I was in a place in Kansas, but it was a private hunting place, I believe, and there was lakes and ponds and cranker deer there. Lots of duck hunting there. Bunch of guides, renowned guides were hanging there. I got to have a few beers with them. I went to Stanford for college and I was on the wrestling team there. We had a saying, quote, "If you're smarter than me, I can whip your ass. If you can whip my ass, I'm smarter than you. If you can whip my ass and you're smarter than me, you can join the tribe." I gotta tell you, I feel like you're part of the scholar, warrior, savage tribe. I've had 2 experiences with Sasquatch in the Trinity Alps in Northern California. Tree knocks, whistles, and footsteps. I took a skeptic with me, and he certainly started to think deeper about the Squatch phenomenon. It can be lonely being the person who sees the truth when others are so set in their ways. Thanks for giving us all a voice, and thanks for keeping it real. You have a set of stones on you. Deep respect for what you do. Thanks. Hey man, appreciate the encouraging, kind words. Appreciate it. Uh-oh, did I not just mark that as red? I think I did. Yeah, it can be lonely in a way sometimes, sort of, until you find this channel, right? And the next thing you know, there's literally hundreds of thousands of like-minded people. Intelligent, free, brave people right here. And it's not so lonely. Here's another one. Hello, Steve. My name is Kevin, and my experience happened back in 2006. I was living in Virginia at the time in Lee County. I was hunting on 150 acres behind my in-laws' house. I was the only person hunting that area. It was in November of that year and was rifle season. I was walking through the open field on my way to another spot where I've had good luck getting a deer. I was a short ways across the field when I got that feeling I was being watched. I scanned around for a while but couldn't see anything. I started to walk on, just shaking it off. I went roughly 30 yards and I heard the snap of a limb. I turned in the direction of the sound and it took me a few seconds before I realized there was something big there. When I saw it, it was not a person. I fell straight down into the prone position and looked through the scope to see what it was. I wasn't prepared for what I saw. Not many are. The face staring back at me was not human, but was human. Okay, let's imprint that in our brains one more time. This is very important. The face staring back at me was not human, but was human. I'd heard stories of Bigfoot, but up till that moment, I hadn't truly believed they were real. I had an overwhelming feeling, sense of fear at the moment. I was clueless as to what to do. It was looking at me with a concerned look. I got the feeling it knew what I was and what the gun was too. Its brow was bunched up like people do when they are concerned. I lowered the rifle down on the ground and started looking at it with my eyes only. It was roughly 100 to 120 yards away from me. I couldn't see its face as clearly now, but I did notice it seemed to relax some. I also noticed how big this thing really was. I would say it was a little over 8 feet tall, and from shoulder to shoulder width was at least 4 feet. Its arms and legs were huge. I know this being was stronger than any man could ever be. It was covered in dark, long brown hair. I could hear it breathing, even from where I was. It was deep and slow intakes and exhales. We looked at each other for just a couple of minutes, at least. When it moved, it stepped back into the brush and just kind of disappeared into the woods. I sat there for a long time just shaking out of fear and disbelief. I was so shaken by what happened I went home. My wife at the time was feeding our baby girl when I walked in and knew something was wrong. I couldn't talk about it for a few weeks. When I did, she looked at me like I was crazy. I know everyone thought I was crazy, but I know what I saw. I stumbled across your YouTube videos one day, and after watching them, I see that I am truly not the only one that has run across these beings. Thank you for everything you do, and also for giving me the courage to share my story with you and your listeners. Kevin, welcome aboard. I'm so frickin' happy that you emailed us. Big time. You did see what you saw. It's very real. It happened. You can't stick it away somewhere and forget about it. And I don't know if you're still with your wife, but you might want to slip her one of these videos for her to watch. Maybe, right? This one in particular. There's nothing but truth here. I feel so sorry for so many people that their brains have that natural block. They just will not accept some flavor of truth that they just can't handle. And they can't handle it because they've been misled and not taught honest truth. Now, who's next? Appreciate you sending that in, man. Big time. Absolutely appreciate you sending that truth in. Alright, here's another one. Better mark this as red. Hello, Steve. I've watched numerous videos of Sasquatch over the years. I'm part Native American, former chairman, Chinook tribe, Washington State. I've had my own encounters with them since age 14. Red-eyed creature with evil eyes staring in your back window at night as my brother and I played a game of pool. Saw tracks of one in about half an inch of snow at age 10 with my brother and parents as he returned to show us where he found Bigfoot tracks in the snow while looking for Christmas trees, November 1970. Way up a spur logging road. Second growth of old timber. Absolutely no one there. Known by no other people. Known by no other people tracks there. Wahkiakum County. Wahkiakum County. Had rocks thrown at a friend of mine and myself as we checked his fishing net on the Quinault Reservation. Approximately 1984, 2 a.m. We got out of there fast. Grays Harbor County. I asked this Quinault tribe member, what are those things, real or spiritual? He said both. I've also smelled them. Worst combination of sewer rotting smell ever. And heard them scream, also on the Quinault Reservation, as I lived there for about 6 years, 1980s. I am Chinook tribal member, Southwest Washington. Other people I know, including family and acquaintances, have had experiences also. I could probably write my own book on these beings. I had one that threw an apple at my feet about 1990 in moonlight as I was by my car in my sister's driveway as I was house sitting for her while she was in Alaska for a few weeks. The apple rolled in front of me as I was taking a leak. I looked over opposite side of the driveway where the apple came from. Standing there in the brush about 20 yards back, I could see the upper torso of a huge Bigfoot there. I froze. Eventually I backed out quickly and went inside. I found a gun and loaded it. I went upstairs, looked out in the moonlit driveway. Nothing seen, but my sister's dog went nuts barking as it finally came out of her garage when it was laying with its pups. Where it was laying with its pups. I've had a stick thrown at me in the woods about 1995 while hunting for elk. Daylight, of course. Up in Washington State timber. I looked up to try to discern where it came from, as I was on the edge of timber to a clearing. The stick came from the clear logged hillside. Nothing there, nothing to be seen, but tree stumps. I shot my rifle in the air. Nothing moved. This was at the end of a logging road. No one else there. I got out of there. But upon getting in my small SUV, I could hear something following me through the brush that I just came through to get to my Bronco. Years later, I met a Bigfoot researcher from Longview, Washington, a good person. I learned more about these beings. Yes, BF, BS, O, and others in so-called Bigfoot community are not good people. Me and my brother had our own negative experience with one of those website researchers who came down to Waukegan County to investigate Bigfoot tracks we found and reported to the website. He found the tracks as my brother described the location. We were supposed to meet him there. He came down early and rushed out to the site. He came and met us as we arrived. He said firmly several times, "Those are bear tracks." We knew better. The next year, my brother was back in the same area in the spring. He saw a trail cam in the trees that said, "Property of BSRO" on them. So yes, Fat Money Taker uses people and their sightings or evidence to chase people off when they go in there with their equipment. They want to be the first to film Bigfoot. It's all about the money. Blah blah of BC Canada has no good intents either. It's just another name that we don't promote here, alright? Also, this is going to sound crazy. One of my other brothers, while chasing elk about 6 years back, hunting behind his in-laws' property, had to stop to catch his breath. Suddenly, right in front of him, the ferns were departing. Like something huge was going through them. But nothing could be seen. It's an area where he always gets creeped out feeling. Cathlamet, Washington. Cathlamet, Washington. Also, if you ever heard of a place called Eceti Ranch, Eceti Ranch, Trout Lake, Washington, near Mount Adams. It's a place to go see UFOs and other paranormal stuff. It's a true portal there. I met several people there who saw Bigfoot, and it just disappears instantly before their eyes. People I know and trust. So, these beings are able to phase in and out of the third dimension. They are in the fourth dimension, or cloaked most of the time, but when they wish, they back down into our dimension. So, that is why, if you think of it, suddenly people see these beings and suddenly more appear seemingly out of nowhere. And their tracks just stop like they vanished. I spoke of Eceti. I've been there 12 times. In July 4th, 2018, I was at the 4th of July conference there. At first dark, people usually go to Skywatch Field and take pics of orbs flying right in front of you in the field. Samsung Galaxy 9 and 10 are best cell phones for this. 2 Portuguese sisters were standing right next to me taking pics. Excuse me. Suddenly, one turned to me and said, "Look, Sasquatch?" She was showing me her phone. She had just gotten an orange orb pic with a Sasquatch inside the orb. Later that night, about 1:30 a.m., 2 brothers had a Sasquatch encounter at their campsite there. They told their story in the conference building the next day. Their eyes were as big as saucers. I also talked to them personally. I got more of the story. Where the Sasquatch appeared to them in the field in front of them was like a juvenile. It would squat down to try to look at the tree stump. It would squat down to try to look like a tree stump. And a thought would come in their heads, tree. So it's trying to give mind speak to influence their thoughts. Holy shit, how effective is that? Seriously. That's the first time I've kind of sort of been enlightened to that in a way. Maybe it's the first time I clearly picked it up. What a combo. Right? I mean, how many times have these beings been described as a stump? That's a stump. But then you really gotta look at a close distance to see it's not a stump. But imagine being able to look like a stump clearly or something else, and to project the word stump. Wow. That's some serious frickin' power there. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. And they said the field looked all wavy, like when you see a highway in the heat and heat waves are coming up. So, it's obvious, some kind of temporal distortion around it, while it was phasing into the third dimension. I'm going to add, if you or others ever go to Aseti Ranch, one has to register and pay online first. No guns, drugs, or alcohol are allowed there. People will be immediately dismissed if they try to sneak those there. I'm going to attach a trail cam pic from a few years back. I'm only sharing it privately, as it was forwarded to me by a lady who was a Chinook Tribal Council member. She got it from another person who was friends with the guy who got the pic. The guy who got the pic died in a car accident, so it was it was shared only privately. Please keep it that way. It appears to be a half-cloaked juvenile Bigfoot. You can see through it in places. The blue barrel is where the guy was baiting bears. Location, Quinault Reservation. It's just north of the Quinault Casino, where you and David Pilatus have appeared speaking. I shared it years ago privately with Dave Pilatus also. In closing, I remember your trail cam video of orbs flying in the woods. I'm convinced this is how Sasquatch and other beings travel. Just think, people see angels, Mary, Jesus, etc. They are on higher dimensions, but can back down into 3D when they wish. Sort of like Sasquatch. It can back down also. I think one also has to be more spiritually aware and do prayer clearings and meditations. Okay, I hope you would sincerely consider the things I've shared. You may reshare with Dave Pilatus and Scott Carpenter. Privately, please. Kind regards. Okay, wait a minute. Now, here's where it gets confusing. Okay, keep the photo private. That's no problem. It appears to be... Do you guys remember the image from the river the ex-game warden sent in? Remember? It looks just like that when it was standing up, looking from the river. This image looks exactly like that, but fuzzy around the edges beside a blue barrel in the timber. All right? That's what the picture looks like. And I have to respect the wishes. I think he meant I could reshare the photos, because in the beginning, what does it say? Hello, Steve, watch your video. I've had my own encounters. Alright, he didn't say not to mention the email, right? So I'm sharing it. Hope I don't get in trouble. Hope I don't get in trouble, but I appreciate you emailing in big time, especially when it comes to sharing exactly what some of these groups do, right? And I'm aware of that in the past. What they will do is they will find out where there's a property or some land or an area or whatever, access to somewhere where these beings are being seen, and then they will try to belittle, shame, and chase off the original messenger to them about the finds, right? It's pretty sleazy, aren't they? Anyway, there you go. And I agree. Absolutely 110% agree. They are interdimensional, without a frickin' doubt. Without a doubt. If you're still watching, and you're still learning, and I hope I didn't screw up sharing that email because he didn't say not to share the email, email me back with some more knowledge if you have some for us, alright? Absolutely appreciate you taking your time to send that in. Here's another one. Hey Steve, I messaged you a few months ago looking for some answers. So now I will share my story. Back in the summer of '91, my buddy and I were making plans for our first bow hunting trip to an area around Bumping Lake on the northeast side of Mount Rainier. We found an elk calving area, just loaded with elk and deer and black bear. At that point in my life, I'd been hunting for over 20 years in an area about 15 miles away. As it turned out, my buddy couldn't go because of his job, so I went alone. I went over on a Thursday night and found a great spur road and made camp. Nothing happened that night. The next day I looked around and got wood for my fire. That night I was sitting around my fire and I heard something about 20 yards away on the other side of a creek, pacing back and forth. Then it would stop and I would hear it behind me. At the time I thought it was bears. So the next morning I woke to elk bugling about about 100 yards from my camp, and off I went. They were herded up with a very large 5x6. I saw him several times. So I followed them in behind a swamp. When I started around the swamp, there was those footsteps I had heard the night before. They seemed to parallel me for about 15 minutes. Then I tracked the elk for a while, then I stopped for a bit, and then all of a sudden I smelled a horrible smell so strong, it gagged me. It smelled like skunk and rotten flesh. This happened every single day and night also. So on the last day of my hunt, I climbed a steep ridge, and I was going to still hunt the whole day. When I reached near the top, I was standing there waiting for light to come. I'd been there between 5 to 10 minutes when all of a sudden, brush and branches started to break. Then the most god-awful screams and roars came from about 40 yards above me. It absolutely scared the living shit out of me. I immediately nocked an arrow and began walking back down the trail. When I got about a quarter mile away, I turned and started to run. Sorry, I just lost my spot. When I got another half a mile away, I stopped. That being was still screaming from the same place. Then I smelled that horrible off to my left. So I believe that Sasquatch was trying to save my life because he was standing near the edge of a 400-foot shale cliff on the same trail, screaming right at me. I knew the cliff was there. He didn't know that. So when wrapping this up, they never showed themselves to me and were never aggressive, just curious. There's a lot more to this story. I'll stop it here. Thanks to you for all you do. Use my name if you want. Gregory Detert. Gregory, we want to hear the much more. Share it, my man. Share the much more. You can't freak us out. It's not possible. There's nothing here that you can share that would make us think you're crazy. Well, wait, that's not a challenge. Of course, there's some things people could do, obviously, to make us think you're crazy, but not when it comes to this and your truth. Email me back if you can, alright? If you're still here hanging out, email us back with more. Alright, man? It might not seem important to you, but it's going to be important to somebody, I'll guarantee it. Here's another one. Hey Steve, I know you're a busy man, but I'd like to share 2 encounters my family has had. Okay, my Uncle Rick owns a cabin in Muskingum County, Ohio. There's all kinds of places to hunt. Chaminade Formation. What? A lot. If you don't, well, him and my cousin Caleb went. Okay, there must be a serious typo there. Sorry. Share my information, I think is what you meant to spell. A lot you don't, well, him and my cousin Caleb went turkey hunting and something didn't seem right. They heard some crashing up on a ridge and they looked in there. There was something that was about 2 foot taller than a big briar bush, 8 to 10 feet high, shaking its arms in the air. And it didn't take long for him and my Uncle Rick to get the hell out of there. My Uncle Rick, a very honest man, they couldn't say what the hell it was. About 100 yards or so up on the ridge, but it was big. Now the next story, I got my mom and dad went down to Cherokee, North Carolina, the Smoky Mountains. And they're driving through the mountains at about 10:30 at night. My mom seen a big kick up and something that was twice the size of the van running down the hill. Okay, I think he probably meant a bunch of dust kicked up or dirt kicked up, and something that was twice the size of the van running down the hill towards them. Could have been man, probably meant twice the size of a man, running down the hill towards them. And my dad's the kind of guy that would run if he was scared, but he's seen it coming for the vehicle, and he screamed down, swerved, to this day they can't explain what it was. Do you like to share the encounter? Go ahead. I personally haven't seen anything in the woods. I don't really want to, unless I have my dad Smith & Wesson 500 mag with me. I hope I emailed you on the right account. If my ship ever comes in, I'd like to hire you for a hunt, bud. My name's Jacob Alt from Ohio. Feel free to share if you would like, and have a great year. And God bless you and your family, and be safe, Steve. Okay, thanks, man. Jacob, appreciate it. I'm picking up what you're putting down, a few typos. A bunch. But it's okay. Not all of us can type smoothly, alright? There you go. More people inducted to the Club of No Return. Didn't ask for it, and there's no escape. Ever. Ever. What's next? Hi, Steve. I've been listening to you read Bigfoot stories for about a year or so. I know they exist, and it's fascinating to hear the encounters. I used to be deep into hunting and fishing, hiking, and anything outdoors, and I've spent a lot of time in secluded woods, alone and with others, hunting, fishing, dirt biking, and camping. Between the encounters that are sent to you and the David Pilatus information about the disappearances, I wonder how I missed all the action. I don't have a whopper of a story, but thought I'd share a couple of weird things I've experienced in the woods at night. Although this first is most likely a mountain lion, they occurred in the 80s and 90s. Both instances happened in the Sierra Nevada mountains in Northern California at about 2,200 feet elevation in sparsely homed rural environment, about 25 miles from the nearest city. Instance 1. I live on 10 acres of densely wooded mountainous land. Neighbors are few and far between, and everyone enjoys their privacy. After finishing watching a movie with the family about 1 a.m., I decided to enjoy the liberty of relieving myself outside. It was a warm summer night, and I thought I'd look at the stars a minute and get some fresh air. I walked away from the porch light about 50 feet or so to the wood's edge to relieve myself, while looking up at the beautiful night sky, and of course, mid-Peace Stream. I hear the most terrifying scream I've ever heard. A combination of baby crying and woman screaming bloody murder. Straight out of a horror movie. The one time in my life I could literally feel the hair stand up on the back of my neck. Amazed how a sound can instill abject fear into a grown man. Words cannot explain. I backed my way back to the house and locked the door. Anyhow, after talking to some experienced hunters, I was informed that it was likely a mountain lion vocalizations I'd never heard before. No, it wasn't. The screams sounded like they came from about a quarter mile away, but was told it may have been closer than it sounded, that they can throw their voice to mislead prey. No, they can't. The sound was immensely terrifying, but easy enough to explain. Instance 2, maybe not so much. Instance 2, I grew up in the same region, and I think I was about 16 years old, and my friends and I would sometimes do sleepovers on weekends. This friend in particular lived about 5 to 6 miles away from me down a narrow twisting mountain road. I think my friend's mom busted him for something he did wrong previously and was now in the doghouse, ruining our evening plans. Too much drama, his brothers were fighting, and our plans were ruined. All in all, I decided to walk home instead of be part of the carnage. Even though it was about midnight, I had little fear of the woods, as I'd been coon hunting in with my grandfather at night since I was about 7. I realized as I began my trek home down the narrow road that I knew like the back of my hand that it was a moonless night, and I literally could barely see my hand waving directly in front of my face. Being a lifelong woods boy / man, I thought there's a very outside chance I might encounter a bear. We only have skittish black bears there. Rarer even, maybe a mountain lion. So I just made some human noises as I went along, expecting any predators to skedaddle upon realizing my human stench. About a quarter way home, I began to realize something was mirroring my steps off to the left of me. About 20 feet or so into the forest line, where I knew there were no houses, nobody should be out walking with no flashlight. Like me, I could clearly hear a definite large bipedal animal stepping through the leaves in sync with my steps. I stopped, it stopped. I took 2 more steps and stopped. It took 2 more steps and stopped. I said hello, with no response. I started walking again, and it started walking again. I effing bolted and didn't stop running until I was near collapse, and I never heard it again. But I remember getting home as fast as my legs would get me there. I was freaking terrified. 16 years old, all of 135 pounds of quivering. Yes, sir. No, sir. I have no idea what/who that was, but was I think the scariest moment I've ever had in the woods. Why would someone be walking after midnight in the forest with no flashlight? Alarming? Any way you slice it. Anyhow, that's my piece. Keep up the good work, Steve. Love what you're doing. If you need any website help, please let me know. Best regards, Jason. Excuse me. Appreciate you, Jason. I haven't had the shuffling beside me, I don't think. Not from one of these dudes. I've had every animal you could think of come out in front of me or beside me, that's for sure, including grizzlies, black bears, cougars. I've had all that come up beside me. And whatever your friends tried to convince you what that sound was a cougar in the beginning of your email, not a frickin' chance. No cougars cannot throw their voice to confuse prey. Who come up with that one? Who was the bullshit artist that come up with that and their mind told them to speak it as truth to somebody who didn't know? Dumbasses. Quarter mile away. Yeah. Anyway, you know what it was now though, right? It's always it's that consistent description too of that scream, right? It sounded like a woman getting murdered. Baby screaming, crying, combo with a woman getting murdered. Said thousands of others who heard it. Anyway, there you go. More, right? Alright, one more. Actually, just got a text. There's a monster bear walking up the road here towards the house. I went and looked for him, but I guess he went in the bush. Dear Steve, at the joint presentation of Missing 411 and HowToHunt.com, watch it on your YouTube channel, David asked you, why is media not being truthful about these beings? I will call them wilderness human giants. To answer this, one must first answer, who controls the media reporting the science? But before you can answer this, you have to answer, who controls the science? To answer this last one only needs to look at the construction, operating, and future expansion costs of the Atom Smasher, run by the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN. Billions, all funded by governments. In 2012, CERN scientists claimed to have found the God particle, the Higgs boson. It would be more appropriate to call this false boson the Son of God particle, for it cannot pop up without its father God. The Higgs mechanism, which is an oscillating wave of nothing in nothing. AHA. So if government-funded scientists in the theoretical physics field can claim that their godfather and godson were the creators of the universe, and you have to have faith in their spirit of discovery and truth, then the one true Most High God does not exist. Then, if the one true Most High God doesn't exist, who can be your only caretaker? Big government. But they need a voice to get the message out. AAH. The media trumpets the news with great fanfare and awards, Nobel Prize for best, are bestowed. Steve, you spent your life in nature. Is she absurd? As Albert Einstein and many other theoretical physicists struggled with the strange results of Thomas Young double-slit experiments and the developing quantum theory to explain them, a young one, Dr. Richard Feynman, declared, quantum mechanics describes nature as absurd from the point of view of common sense. And yet, it fully agrees with experiment. So I hope you can accept nature as she is. Absurd. End quote. Sounds a little like calling Bigfoot an ape. Governments really don't want people to know the truth because it leads away from their story and their God lines and the DNA of sons of one true Most High God. Now, current false quantum theory is invading the Bigfoot community, and they become aliens from another planet through portals, and not angels from the one true Most High God or demons from his first son Satan. So, if governments control the science and the media supports the science because they got more government funding to spread the government message, propaganda, who controls the media? Big governments. So if big governments control the science and media, the one true Most High God does not exist, then there is one world order. Government is God. So what about religions? Let's look at the big three. Judaism, Christianism, Islamism. They claim they own the way to the one true Most High God. One only needs to look at Exodus 20.3 and where they fit into the first law of God. They fit as bad little gods between you and the God. And God. Test them a second time with the second law of God, Exodus 20.4-6, and how they're graven images of a six-pointed star, a cross, a crescent moon, and star comply? They don't. But the three of them do fulfill Revelation chapter 13. And the one big government, the UN, pushes for peace through the joint recognition and friendship of the big three, and the UN's big government members support one or all three with tax breaks and funding. So who controls religion? Big governments. Those that don't conform to the big government message are attacked and destroyed and killed if necessary. So most take the easy way to save their lives and conform. Mark 8.35 times John 16.2. I'm almost 59 and have been searching for the one true Most High God since I was 5, which is a long story I won't share here. Just a note. The U.S. government put me in prison for challenging them for my spiritual freedom to walk with the one true Most High God without their religions. Sincerely, Kevin. Sorry, hold on. I'm not understanding this. Wrote in another language. I mirrored my name around my challenge, which resulted in 309 days in prison, and I am in my 16th month of 24 months probation. My website. Alright, hold on a minute. I get a little confused here. P.S. I've never seen a wilderness human giant, but hunting in northern Minnesota in the early 80s, just south of Upper Red Lake, just outside the eastern boundary of the Red Lake Indian Reservation, while walking into the woods a couple of hours before sunrise, I had an overwhelming feeling to get my ass to and in my tree stand. I did. I left before the sun was set. It wasn't until the next year that I started going back in and out of the woods in the dark. I never said anything to anyone until now. Use my name and whatever you want to share with your viewers. Why fear man who can only destroy the flesh when the one true Most High God can condemn and torture the spirit? You have my email. I'll show you my phone number privately if you want it. Alright, there you go. There's no question, there's no surprise, no question, no nothing about the governments being evil. And the UN's probably one of the most war-mongering group of psychopaths that ever hit the face of the planet. Look it up. Don't shoot the messenger. It can easily be backed up with probably 17 minutes of doing your own due diligence. But anyway, I'm going back outside. I think that huge bear is coming in my yard. I want to go see. And I got a lot more to say, but I'm getting interrupted now. My brain's shooting out to the yard for this quote huge bear that's coming in. So I'm going to go out and deal and then carry on my day. And I'm going to film my adventure this evening. And I'm going to be back with more. And if you've got more you want to share, some knowledge, some shit to get off your chest, share my story at howtohunt.com. Word for word, guaranteed, right here. Nothing's changed or omitted. You you're safe. There's no bullshit here. There you go. Back shortly. Unless the bear gets me.